Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today to talk about the Darkzone, the Division's PvP, PvE-focused zone. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions, there's a lot of concerns about the Darkzone, and we're very much going to clear those up in this video, but I do want to start by saying the Darkzone is nothing like DayZ. It's nothing like H1Z1 or games like those games. It's a completely different experience, one that focuses as much on PvE as it does on PvP. And also an experience that is extremely well crafted and designed to not just be a team deathmatch griefing fest. It's an experience that has already told some amazing stories for me, that has allowed me to participate in the creation of some wonderful memories and wonderful tales. One of which I'm going to share with you guys right now before we even get into the details of the Darkzone. So right now, I was soloing in the Darkzone. I was pushing towards a safe room because I wanted to mark it as a save point and see what kind of loot the guy happened to have there just for the sake of checking it out. I passed through an extraction point, one that I remembered from the alpha, and found it populated with some AI. Now, AI in the Darkzone are hardcore. They're not the same easy mode AI that you'll find out in normal cooperative gameplay. They're usually high level, high tier, often even elites. And if you try and solo them, you're gonna have a hard time. A lot of the times and situations where you're going to be taking on a lot of these AI, it's almost required that you have a group of players in order to be as effective as possible. Luckily for me, two other players roam on in, they help me clear up the last of the AI, we do a bit of wave, and I make a mental note of their names. These dudes are dudes that I want to mark as friendly. I recognize Dark Assassin, and then Maniac actually goes ahead and fires off a flare to call an extraction, and I remember his name. They're now on my friendly list. I say to myself, alright, these are two guys, they're good dudes, they help me out, I'm gonna help make sure that they get their loot out of here. I don't have any loot personally to extract, so there's no real reason for me to stick around, but I'm trying to build a relationship here. A non-vocal relationship, one that is based purely on emote communication. I end up leaving those guys, I head on out, I do a little bit of farming, it's about 25 minutes later, darkness has started to fall on the server, and I come on back to that same extraction point to get my loot to safety. I notice that there's already extraction in progress and it's about to depart in 17 seconds. I figure I could probably make it. Unfortunately for me, they fill up all the hooks on the helicopter and the helicopter extracts. But as I arrive, I realize there's some rogue agents going on here. I recognize Dark Assassin as well as another player and then another player engaging them. Now I immediately take the side of Dark Assassin as I said, he's on my friendly list. I also recognize that him and the other player with him have a very low cooldown time on their rogue status, meaning they were probably provoked. I do a tiny bit of cooperation. Fortunately, Maniac actually shows up, eliminates the rogue agent, and we find ourselves now at the number of 5. I go ahead and fire off another extraction just in time for new AI to arrive. We all go ahead, team up to engage these AI. Now, throughout the course of this firefight, I accidentally engage Io, or however you say his name, Io Uzo, who was one of the people who was with Dark Assassin when I originally arrived. Now, I don't engage him with enough damage to mark myself as a rogue agent, but I do put us on sort of bad blood status. So now I'm going to have a red health bar when they look at me. He has a red health bar, but I do a wave and just say, hey, listen, that was an accident, man. It was a bit of misidentification. I didn't realize you were up there, and everything goes on good. We stay friends. I go up here, I grab some green loot, and we get ready to extract our gear. That's it. That's the story. 25 minutes later, almost a half an hour later, I come back to the same area to find two people who I had considered friendly, rogue agents engaging another rogue agent, and I choose sides. The Darkzone is very much a psychological experience, one that I can't explain because I'm not a psychologist. But stuff happens here. Stuff happens without direct vocal communication, a lot of it through the use of emotes like jumping jacks, saluting, and waving in the surrender. And it just kind of works. It's really, really strange, because I know there are other experiences that have tried similar things and failed. They still end up just being an utter griefing mess. But there are a lot of smaller mechanics in play in the Darkzone that I think help bring this experience together. So let's talk about going rogue. What does it actually mean? Now, once you're in the Darkzone, you're free to engage any of the other division members. You can shoot them at will. Once you put enough damage on a division member, you will be marked as rogue, which means people now consider you a bad guy. You're going to have a skull above your head, as well as a cooldown timer that tells you how long you have until your rogue status goes away. If you actually survive the length of that cooldown timer without being killed, you will receive some Darkzone credits. It's not a large amount, but there's some Darkzone credits in there. There is, in fact, a reward for going rogue. It's not like they've completely, you know, left out people who turn rogue or want to be rogue agents. There are rewards for doing so. The longer you stay rogue, the more people you kill, and the more you increase your rogue status, the longer the cooldown, but of course, the bigger the rewards if you run through that cooldown. At the same time, you can max out your rogue status, at which point you will become wanted. There will be a massive bounty on your head, and you will actually show up on the map for everyone to see. Everyone can come hunt you down, and they will. Because at that point in time, everyone in the server is a hero. They all want your head, because it means securing a bad guy as well as getting a big fat stack of Darkzone credits. Makes you look good, right? You were the hero, you killed the bad guy. We did a good job. As you can see here, Dark Keandra here tried to show up again at the same extraction point and once again engages. I revived Dark Assassin, further cementing our friendship as a bunch of randoms, and then we eliminated him together, securing some Darkzone points from his bounty. I mean, that is a Darkzone tale. These are the moments and the memories that the Darkzone creates. Whether you're playing in a group or playing alone, this stuff just happens if you're willing to communicate with other players to even the smallest degree. This is what makes the Darkzone for me. This is what makes it so fantastically special when it comes to the player interaction. Now, there are other elements at work here in the Darkzone. As I said, it is just as much focused on the PvE components as it is on the PvP components. In order to get the good loot that you go ahead and extract, the best way to do that is to actually go engage AI. Now, there are landmarks on the Darkzone map. Basically, enterable or larger areas, you know, libraries, courtyards that are often filled with elite tier enemies. There's usually a boss enemy in each of these locations. So you can go there with a group of players, a group of friends, you can engage these enemies, you can get their loot, and then you can go and extract with it. There's a big reason to work with other players. These enemies are difficult. They are hard to take down. Soloing them, even working in like a group of 2 or 3, can often be challenging. It's far more easy to team up with a larger group of players, usually one that won't be directly in your party, engage these enemies, get the loot, and then help everyone secure that loot. There's a lot of incentive to work together in this game. It really does reward it. And going rogue is an extremely high risk situation. There are rewards for going rogue, as I said, but it really puts you under the gun. It puts a giant painted bullseye right on your back. It's not an easy thing to do. And we're going to talk a little bit towards the end and address people's concerns about griefing and things of that nature, because I don't think it's something we're going to have to worry about as much in the Darkzone, but I'm going to address that. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is the idea of going rogue as a whole, right? I think a lot of people, I may also be sort of portraying the idea of going rogue as just like, no one's ever going to do it. Why would you ever go rogue? Like I said, there are benefits to going rogue. You can see, you know, an increase in Darkzone credits as well as Darkzone experience. But sometimes, and most of the time that I've had a situation where I've gone rogue or another player's gone rogue, it just kind of happens. It's sort of an organic thing. Let me give you a really great example. When I was playing the alpha, my brother and I were teamed up with a rather large group of players on the one server. We basically all just decided we were going to be good guys. Like, we're all going to be good guys. We had 10 people running around together, getting loot, killing AI, and then going to extract it. Now, the realization is not all 10 of you can actually extract your loot on one helicopter. It just doesn't work that way. There's a limited number of slots. I believe it is 5 slots on a helicopter's rope that it hooks down. Once you fill all 5 of those slots, the helicopter goes away. It doesn't wait around anymore. It leaves, and you have to call in another extraction. So we roam into this area, about 10 of us, and we all go to decide, okay, let's extract. That's when things clicked, and we all realized, hey, we're not all going to be able to extract our loot at the same time. And about 3 of the people who are partaking in our giant raid of the AI here decided they were going to turn their backs on us, and that's exactly what they did. And a giant firefight broke out. Now, at the end of this extensive firefight, let me tell you how the tables turned. Everyone was against my brother and I, who had just gained maximum rogue status. And we ended up having to escape on foot, and we actually had a 4-minute cooldown, or 5-minute cooldown, which we actually ended up defending ourselves against. We had over 20-some kills. It was insane. We had one of the best defensive spots on the map. They just kept coming at us gladiator style. We kept healing each other, and we survived it, and it was amazing. And it was in the alpha, and I wish so badly I could show you guys the footage from that. But I can't, because I wasn't recording in the alpha, and it was under NDA. So there are reasons, there are situations where it's almost forced upon you. Things happen, people go rogue, chaos ensues, people choose sides, stories are told differently, and there's a bit of a player versus player firefight. The thing is, you never go into the Darkzone expecting people to just kill you for no reason. This isn't like a fresh spawn situation in DayZ where it's just a fight for your survival against any other player on the server, because everyone's paranoid about being shot. The great thing about a game like The Division is you go into the Darkzone as equally armed as everyone else. At least you have the opportunity to equally arm yourself like everyone else. There are Darkzone player brackets, you're never going to be massively over-leveling someone in the Darkzone. You have the opportunity to have the same powerful equipment that another person has in the Darkzone. You're not going in with a hatchet while another dude has a sniper rifle. There's always that balance of equipment and gear. It's about player skill and communication then. So you don't ever have to worry about that. That situation doesn't happen, it doesn't occur. Now the idea of griefing as a whole, there are people who are going to try and do it, right? There are people who are going to sit at the Darkzone checkpoints and the spawn points, and they're going to try and kill people over and over. They're not going to see any reward for that. There's no way they're ever going to survive their cooldown timer because they keep killing people and they keep staying in the same area. Everyone's going to hunt them down. They're putting themselves in a bad situation. They're not gaining any loot. You're not losing any loot. It's those finer mechanics, the idea that you don't actually lose any items except the items that you picked up in the Darkzone, that help bring the whole experience together. They help make sure that people who grief aren't rewarded for griefing. Can you be rewarded for being evil every now and then? Yes, but you won't be rewarded for endlessly team killing or for endlessly killing someone who walks out of a spawn point. There are no rewards to that. There's no benefits. You won't survive, you'll die, it'll get old fast, and people like that, I believe, won't spend their time in the Darkzone. That's the great thing about having a game where the Darkzone is optional. This isn't the entire experience. It doesn't make up what The Division is. The Division is multiple components. It's the stuff that happens in the Darkzone and the stuff that happens outside of it. I hope that really addresses a lot of the misconceptions, a lot of the concerns that people had for the Darkzone. It's something that I'm actually obsessed with. I love what the team has done with this. Ubisoft, Red Storm, Massive, whoever helped build this, please, just kudos to you guys. Pat yourselves on the back. Like, to me, this is one of the most incredibly well-designed player versus player environments ever. It's created some amazing stories and some amazing moments for me, and I can't wait to see what it's like when people are actually going into the Darkzone with, you know, higher level skills, and we've got, you know, higher level enemies that we're going to be engaging, AI enemies that we're going to be taking down. Like, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the quarantine zones within the Darkzone. I'm looking forward to opening some of those Darkzone crates finally. There's just going to be a lot of awesomeness that I think is going to happen in the Darkzone. It's going to be something that is integral to my personal Division experience. Now, there's a few smaller mechanics we didn't talk about. I'll gloss over really quickly. When you do die, I should have mentioned this, when you do die as a rogue agent, you also lose Darkzone credits and you lose Darkzone keys. So again, another bit or piece that makes going rogue even more high risk than it already was. There are also, as I said, chests in the contaminated zones that require a certain level, as well as those Darkzone keys. If you open those chests, you're going to be able to get loot out of them. As I said, there are safe rooms that you can purchase higher level equipment in, but they require usually very high Darkzone levels, as well as large amounts of Darkzone credits. That's the Darkzone in a nutshell, guys. I'm very much looking forward to it. I would really love to hear any of your personal Darkzone experiences, if you have some awesome stories to tell, or if you have some concerns or questions that I haven't addressed in this video, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, and I will get back to you ASAP. I hope to see you in the Darkzone. Maybe we'll team up, we'll kill some AI, we'll get some awesome loot, we'll extract it, and we'll have some stories to tell.